Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to do the Old Review Omnibus, Volume 9. This Old Review Omnibus are mainly classic movie reviews. They're all rough cut reviews, which are online at a separate channel. But, like NBC says, if you haven't seen it before, it's new to you. But since I like to do these old review omnibuses in sort of themes, there's certain of the older reviews that haven't been up for a while that don't fit within certain themes and some that do. So that's why some are all rough cuts and some are less rough cuts and so forth. So yeah, just in case you're wondering. It's not just because I'm lame or embarrassed with those. I just pick themes that sort of work and yeah, and this one I guess is sort of Thanksgiving related, as this kind of has probably one of my less known Thanksgiving semi-related reviews, even though it doesn't really have as much to do with Thanksgiving. And I used to post it around Thanksgiving time, but I haven't in a while. But because it's a silent film about Native Americans called The Vanishing American, and I basically intro it. I made it like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving that year. It was like a whole thing. So I mainly did it because I was seeing a lot of silent films then, and I DVR'd it, and I'm not even sure why I DVR'd it, but I had it, and it was interesting, kind of the ideas that film brought up. So it's kind of an interesting review in that regard. The next one is a review of an early Woody Allen film. So it's actually his third, but his second real sort of film, at least that Woody Allen had directed. This first being What's Up, Tiger Lily. His second would then be Take the Money and Run, and his third would be Bananas. And this was kind of, what is considered, I guess, to be his early funny ones, as he described it in Stardust Memories. I haven't really done a lot of Woody Allen reviews, to be honest. I think I was doing some of his newer stuff, and then I've kind of stopped for various reasons. And I do enjoy a lot of his earlier films, so it's cool that I did this one. And Bananas is kind of forgotten, I sort of think, maybe. I'm not sure. It's not as cool as Take the Money and Run, certainly, but it's still good. I'm not sure why I picked it specifically. I did review it, and here it is. And then the third review in this Old Review Omnibus, which is probably shorter than most of these things are normally, is the first review I did of Public Enemy. Now, I do have a review of Public Enemy, which is a lot better on my own channel. This was also the first review I did for the Rough Cuts. It was kind of like, I don't think I officially had a day. I was just sort of doing a replacement thing, and then it sort of just became I had Tuesday, because a reviewer they'd have a different movie critic each day, and I had Tuesday, and I believe it was a Tuesday one, I forget. I almost didn't redo a review of Public Enemy, but I loved that movie so much, I was like, oh, of course I'll do it, and I'm much happier that I did. So occasionally I would recommend, if you are a YouTube person, to re-examine some stuff to see if you maybe should redo something if you feel like your talents have improved. And I felt that way about this one, although I did feel very strongly that it was a good review at the time. I think it's alright, but I think the later one that I think I made in 2013 was a lot better. So there'll be like a card for that. You should watch that one. But if you're curious to see what the other one was like, it'll be at the end of this. Thank you very much for watching basically my leftovers, so you can't think of something more Thanksgiving weekend-y than that. And I will see you at the end of the video. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? It's Jim. Today's Tuesday, and today's film is The Vanishing American. Now, The Vanishing American is kind of a silent Native American exploitation movie. I guess that would be the best way to describe it. I kind of picked this movie because Thanksgiving's coming up. I thought, why not? I don't know. This was on my DVR, because I DVR Silent Sunday Nights on Turner Classic Movies every Sunday if I haven't seen it. And I had never heard of this before. And I DVR'd it, and it had been sitting there. It starts off, you basically learn about survival of the fittest through America before English settlers came, but when you had like the several different tribes, and then you had these cave dwellers, eventually the people we know as Native Americans, when the settlers did come, they actually killed all the cave dwellers. So it's like survival of the fittest. And that's how the movie starts off. They already kind of know they're doomed, you know? And I feel like the movie tries to act like, hey, maybe that won't happen to them. That was interesting because they could have just not had that intro. It had really nothing to do with the story, but it really set up the mood of the movie. The white man is like taking over their land, and you know nothing good is going to become of that because now the Native Americans are, you know, the weaker of the two. The strong will survive, the weak will not. And you know, that's not entirely fair. But since this is made by the white man, I can absolutely see why you would want to exploit that theory at the beginning, because you're basically saying, well, you know, that's just how it is, folks. And maybe that kind of rubs me the wrong way about the beginning. The main character, Nafani, and he's the leader of the Native Americans, this kind of reservation they have. He doesn't really get along with the white man very much. But he does like this English school teacher lady who's there. He doesn't get along with this one guy, Booker. I mean, this is based on the book called The Vanishing American, and basically the author of that really put a lot of blame on the people running these reservations and all the shitty things they would really do to the Native Americans. And he had to actually tone it down for his book, and he toned it down a lot in this movie. And instead of just the white man, it's just Booker. Like, they just combine all the evil things that the white man was doing to them into one character, so that I guess the other white characters were more sympathetic, but I kind of dislike that. But I like hating on this one guy. I think it works for its kind of exploitation vibe. Booker basically does like all sorts of shitty things to them. He like steals all their horses and gives them like no money for them. But then when the military comes, because they need horses for World War I, all the Native American males actually join up with them because they want to help defend America as well. They tried to tell them that they're just as American as anyone else, and they figure, well, this will gain us the respect we need. And they go to World War I. It was filmed at Monument Valley, which later John Ford would film stuff like The Stagecoach and Fort Apache, and I believe The Searchers there. You can just go on cliffs and put a camera down, like look at all these, because they had like something like 10,000 actual Navajo extras, because this is a Navajo reservation. They all helped out or extras, and there are a lot of like, even though Richard Dix, who plays the main character, even though he's white and they have him like playing a Native American, they have a lot of real Native Americans in the film as well. I know in a lot of silent films where you have the main character is Asian or Native American or something, they always have, you know, a white actor play him, and then all his friends will be Asian, or well, we'll give them some jobs, but not like the big job. We have to have like a big silent white guy do it or something. I never got that. But Richard Dix was actually pretty good. I thought he did a decent enough job. I mean, it's a little hammy, but you have to take this movie for what it is, because it's very silly. It is kind of an exploitation picture. I know this is like way before most people are used to using that term, but when I was watching it, I was like, this is a Native American exploitation picture. They're not really giving the Native Americans the respect of what's going on at the time. They're Hollywooding it up, you know, they're exploiting them for Hollywood, so I guess that is exploitation, isn't it? This was later made in 1955. Again, I haven't seen that movie, I've just seen this one from 1925. A really well-made Hollywood studio picture. You know, the location shots are really amazing and astounding. It's a good story, and I think as a movie it works very well. That doesn't mean morally it's right or anything. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you very much for watching this video. I will be back next Tuesday for another video. And subscribe to my main channel. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially VHX. Follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr, who does the picture at the beginning and end of this video. And thank you very much for watching. Happy Turkey Day, I guess. Hey, what's up? It's Tuesday. I'm Jim here for the Rough Cuts, and today's film is Bananas. Now, Bananas is Woody Allen's second film he directed. It's actually his third if you count What's Up Tiger Lily, but I don't really count that as directed in the traditional sense. So we're just going to say it's his second after Take the Money and Run. This young guy who tests products at a big corporation, like he tests a desk
that like is a workout equipment also for the modern businessman, and he tests like a coffin that has headphones in it, and just like kind of an excuse for him to do goofy stuff. His early stuff is more influenced by someone like the Marx Brothers. Every scene feels like a gag, like a skit, you know. He falls in love with this girl, and she is an activist. She really believes in the revolution in San Marcos, which is a fictional South American country made up just for this movie. And she really believes in this cause, but he just kind of gets into it because of her. And then they break up. He was planning on going there with her, but then he's like, well, I have nothing going on, so I'm going to go to San Marcos. And he gets all wrapped up in the revolution and everything. Even though this film has a lot of executions and fights and violent battles, there's actually no blood in the whole film. Woody Allen felt that would hurt the lighter tone, which I kind of think it would have messed up the tone of this, because it's very light, fun, wacky, silly comedy. It doesn't even have his regular kind of jazz score. It has more of it's like a stupid 60s comedy score, really. Even though this is made in 71, it feels like more of a 60s film to me, like a 60s comedy, but it's like a madcap, crazy, kooky comedy. You know, it's not as serious as I think people think of Woody Allen, although he's not all the time. I mean, he's a comedian and he writes comedies mostly, but I think this is a lot more juvenile than you expect from Woody Allen now. You know, now he's more mature adult. You know, this is pre-Annie Hall. This is only his second thing, and he's really more concerned. It's like a Marx Brothers movie in that it's really concerned with doing these gags and having a ton of jokes. The girl he falls in love with in this movie is actually, at the time he made this, they were already divorced, but they were married before. Woody Allen, he would call this is one of his early funny ones, and it is really funny and it's a lot of fun. And I like this and Take the Money and Run and Sleeper, some of actually my more favorite Woody Allen movies. Not to say I don't like things like Annie Hall and Manhattan and all that. I like this period where he's like kind of silly and goofy, and this is really rough. You know, Woody Allen movies are usually pretty decently made and put together and everything, but this feels like they really made it on the fly with as little money as they could. It was like a struggling independent production. This is a comedy from 1971. The only thing that, even though I like it, I think it's a little dated, is the whole thing with Howard Cosell at the beginning and the end of the film. It's a parody of ABC's Wild Worlds of Sports, but doing like this kind of play-by-play thing. The thing with Howard Cosell is I never watched Howard Cosell growing up. Like, I know Howard Cosell from like footage I've seen in documentaries or archival footage. So I still get the Howard Cosell thing, but I think it's a lot funnier for like people like my dad, who actually rented this once for like I had like a sleepover or something. We rented a bunch of movies and we all kind of watched it, and I don't know if we really all got that into it. I think this was a little not the right choice, but you know, we still had fun, but it was like, maybe, I don't know, it was a little outside of our depth, I thought, at the time. Even when I was watching it, I don't really get this Howard Cosell thing. There's an appearance by a very young Sylvester Stallone as a subway thug. You will definitely see him. He's featured in one of the scenes. And he's a lot bulkier, but it's kind of funny. It's, whoa, Sylvester Stallone. It has a certain energy to it. I think early Woody Allen has a definitely different energy to it. Like, he just feels like he's young and bouncing off the walls with energy. You know, he feels a lot more subdued later. He seemed to have so much energy and so many ideas that he had to make all these different gags and scenarios. And even in Annie Hall, it's like a series of separate gags and separate little skits to make this longer film. And he's really like kind of good at that. But in this, since there's so many, it felt more like kind of a jokey, silly, almost what Family Guy is now kind of thing. So if you have seen Bananas and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe to the Rough Cuts if you haven't already. Subscribe to my main channel in the info box below. Follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, and potentially BHX. And follow Earl Barrett Holloway's Tumblr, who does the picture at the beginning and the end of this video. There's a poster of this in the Sunshine Theater in New York. It's always up for some reason. Hey, what's up, Rough Cuts? Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm filling in for today, and I have my own channel, so that's cool. It's cool to be here at the Rough Cuts, so thank you. Today's film is Public Enemy, which is directed by William Wellman, or Wild Bill Wellman, and stars James Cagney. This is a 1931 gangster film. It's about a gangster named Tom Power and kind of his rise to becoming a gangster, and how almost society itself made him become a gangster. This film was actually so popular when it came out, it actually played for 24 hours a day in Times Square, which is pretty impressive. James Cagney is such an intense performer, you know? I don't know, I've never seen this on the big screen. I've heard Cagney on the big screen is very intense and very like shocking and even scarier, and like his face, he has a face that works well for the screen. I mean, this is early sound era, but this is still very much showing its silent film influence. He can do dialogue very well. Everyone else is talking very slow because they were told to like speak slowly so the microphone could pick you up perfectly so everyone could hear. And Cagney was having none of that. Cagney spoke as fast as he wanted to. Cagney was a good actor because I think he knew this was very explosive character, Tom Power, and he's very aggressive. You never really know what he's gonna do, and like if you're at a party with him and you guys are drinking, you never know if he was gonna start a fight with you if you say the wrong thing, or he'll be your best buddy. He's very much a wild card, and Cagney pulls that off very well. I also noticed in this film he keeps doing this thing where he'd be like, he'd see somebody and he'd like hit them on the chin like this. And of course this film's really famous for the grapefruit scene where he shoves a grapefruit in his girlfriend's face. It's interesting that like almost every woman he sees goes like this too, and it just shows like he's very aggressive. Like that's how he communicates. How he shows love is to like hit someone, like go like that, like physically touch someone on the face, not like a sensitive kiss or something. He has to get his fist out and express it that way, and that kind of shows what kind of a character from the streets he is. Jean Harlow is really good in this. I think what makes Jean Harlow great is not just that she's got the platinum blonde looks and, you know, the movie star presence, but I think also that she has this accent. Like James Cagney's character would want to, you know, go out with her. Like he's like, oh, she looks good, but you know, she's like me. She sounds like she's from the streets, and like he can relate to that. I think that's why, like, you know, he did throw that grapefruit in that girl's face because he didn't like her. She wasn't like what he was. He's like this pure gangster from the streets, and like even though this is pre-code, they're still like, they don't want to anger the American public and, you know, get the government involved or anything, so they would always put a lot of things like, this could happen to you if you're a gangster. This film feels very real to me, and the way, like, there's not a lot of cutting in this film. There's a lot of things done in one shot, and like that's pretty impressive at any era. It gives it a voyeuristic appeal to it, which is really, I think, why people like the gangster stories. You know, you like to see like what's going on in there, what's that crime life really like, and Wellman knows how to show that very well. Like you're a fly on the wall, but I think he also understands these gangsters, you know. And Wellman's a crazy enough motherfucker to think that he could be a gangster. So I think Wellman was, especially at this time in 1931, cocky enough. He has this shot where, like, you know, the camera's on the car and then it goes down and goes beneath the car, like it looks like they dug a hole and the car drives over it. That kind of stuff just really wasn't going on in this era. So that's stuff they would later do in Citizen Kane. Wellman was thinking outside the box. He wasn't just going for the Murnau influence that was very popular. He wanted to do different stuff and like make this film kinetic. And I think that's what makes this film such a standout, you know, from other films of this era. I mean, I know people knock films from the early 30s, like they're not that visual, but this film is very visual. He was very influential on someone like Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese played Public Enemy to the cast and some of the crew from The Aviator. As he also played Wellman's film Wings. And this is a big influence on Scorsese. He actually saw this in the 1954 re-release, and they re-released it with this and Little Caesar. It's simple, but it's so intense in its simplicity. When I think of the 30s, early 30s, I always think of this film. I really like it. But as I said before, if you like Scorsese and you're like, I've seen every Scorsese, I love Scorsese, and you haven't seen Public Enemy, you owe it to yourself to see this movie. Alright, so thank you for watching, Rough Cut viewers. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will be back next time someone needs a replacement video, hopefully. Bye.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed those rough cuts, former cuts, I guess, reheated and represented to you on this channel. I think it's cool to have classic movie reviews, and I try to do those occasionally. I think these are pretty cool ones. Hope you're all having a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Thanksgiving weekend, getting some time off, chilling, maybe buying some Christmas presents, talking to some people. I don't know. Finding old crap in your parents' house or on hard drives like this video series is. If you would like for me to talk about any of the reviews I talked about in this Old Review Omnibus, whether it be the Vanishing American, Bananas, or Public Enemy, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. I will see you next time I do an Old Review Omnibus.